In Tomer Devorah.
Yeah. I don't know how to start with that. I know I've asked this question many times, why is everyone so far away? Thank you. Feel better now, buddy. Okay, what we've been learning is Perek Shlit'a, In Tomer Devorah, the sphere of Chochmah, and the sphere of Chochmah is full of chidushim because once we understand that even though we translate, and translate's a very important word, translate means that the way Chochmah is translated into this world, it means wisdom. But Chochmah-The does not mean wisdom. Chochmah-The is a sphera. And it's a certain Marabu Masecha Hashem Kulam B'Chochmah Sisa. It doesn't mean that, like, you know, we live in this big smart house or this big smart world. There's a lot of smarts all around. That's not what it means. It could be what it, you know, that's a reasonable explanation, but that's not what it means. What it means, Kulam B'Chochmah Sisa, is that the Or Hashem, the Or of the Bria, which prisms through the various spheros, first prisms through the Kesser and then through Chochmah. And Chochmah is a certain light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is used, Hashem uses to create the entire Bria. So think of it for the moment, just if we could just expand our thoughts, just for these few minutes that we learn In Tomer Devorah at least, think of Chochmah more as a light or even as a nutrient that's coming in and watering the entire world and making it grow, or think of it as an energy which is coming into the entire world. That's what Chochmah is. In our case, it comes out as wisdom, could be it doesn't, but it's not wisdom. Chochmah is koach ma. They turn around the oisius, it's a koach ma. We don't even know what it is really, because we could give this mashal, that mashal. The Arizal tends to use the mashal of or. Or. Kibi or panecha. There's an or. There's something that emanates, and the spheres he uses the mashal as prisms and takes them into, and even in Arizal's terminology, which is all a mashal, but you got to understand the mashal. So everything in the world are gavonim, colors, which reflect light differently. So that's what Chochmah is. So he says here that Od Tzarech Liyos Rachamav Prusim Al Kol Hanivroim Lo Yivazem V'Lo Ya'abdem. There's this particular avoda for people that there are Rachamim, new idea, Rachamim, should be spread out Al Kol Hanivroim, on everything that Hashem created, Lo Yivazem V'Lo Ya'abdem. See, Rachamim is not one of the spheros. I said words, various Natzachoy, decide Malchus, no Rachamim. Whereas Rachamim? Rachamim means mercy. But Rachamim is good news and bad news, Rachamim, because when I have Rachamanas on somebody or on something, or when we ask Hashem to have Rachmanas on us, so what it's how the bad news is, that means that we're chayiv badin, but have mercy. Like if a person's on trial and the trial's just beginning and he's claiming I'm innocent, you don't go to the judge and ask for mercy. Even legal language. Mercy is after we've established that I'm guilty, and you want to put me in jail for 1,000 years, but I'm 97 years old, and I keep thinking about this Nazi who this old geezer who killed so many people, and life imprisonment, which probably means like a week or something. like what's the sugya there? Like what's the right thing? And he's admitting that he did something wrong. I mean, it's not like, but on the other hand, he's a Nazi, so. What would you do? You put him in jail?
Absolutely.
Kill him?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mhm. I would make him go around to school in Germany and say how terrible it was that because putting him in jail was just going to look like Achzorius, whereas get something out of the guy. Let him say this is a terrible mistake that I made.
He wouldn't mean it. He wouldn't mean
Who
it.
cares?
No, he's saying,
Huh?
he is saying that he's doing this because there are people who are denying it, and he wants to say, I was there, I was on this side, I bear witness.
Yeah. And now we're going to kill him for doing that.
Huh? No, jail for 10, I think maximum is jail for 10 or 12.
Anyways, the point is Rachamim. So Rachamim has to do with clear guilt. Clear guilt. That's Rachamim. And nevertheless, I'll have Rachamim. So Rachamim, if a person shouldn't daven for Rachamim, l'chatchila, because davening for Rachamim is an admission of guilt. Rachamim is only there when there's din. If I don't do anything wrong, I don't need any Rachamim. So it's good to know that when you're davening for Rachamim, you're ma'orer dinim. Ma'orer dinim, you're creating an atmosphere of din around you. So if you're guilty, you have to ask for Rachamim.
We do it every day in Tachnun, right?
Because we're guilty. That's part of Hashem nu bagadnu gazalnu.
It's part of Tachnun.
It's part of Tachnun. So Tachnun is vidui. The reason why we Litvaks don't say Hashem nu bagadnu gazalnu every day is because we don't want to bring this atmosphere of complete guilt around you. We do say Tachnun, but it's connected. It is part of Tachnun. So you got to be careful with it. It's not so pashut to always be saying vidui, because now you're putting yourself at the mercy of the Creator. Well, I mean, look, it is what it is. I mean, either we're guilty or we're innocent, but you don't want to make yourself guilty if you're not. That's that's pointless. Why do that? So Rachamim is on the one hand, it's a negative thing because it means that we're chayav b'din. On the other hand, it's a positive thing because it saves us. Rachamim. You see, and I mentioned this before. Everybody looks at in Kabbalistic terminology. Like if you look at the chart. You have chesed and gvura, or on top of that, chochmah and bina. So the attributes on the right are considered the male aspects. The attributes on the left are like bina, are considered the female aspects, which is interesting. Contrary to popular opinion, women are midas adin. Bina is din, chochmah is the nosein, bina is the makabel, chesed is the nosein. Gvura is the makabel. So like everybody thinks that like the male is that just wait till your father comes home. Like you'll say no, the father doesn't do anything because it's really karachem of albanim, kain terachem Hashem aleinu. That's the tachnun. That the rachamim actually comes for the midah of rachamim is actually a male attribute. That yes, there's guilt here, but chill. Like take it easy because you don't want to. You don't want to destroy the person. That's the male attribute. The male attribute. Whereas the female, I'm not saying all males are males and all females are. I'm just saying on the Kabbalistic. I'm not knocking wives here. I'm just saying that it's more of a female attribute to say, well, just cut him off, kill him. That's more of a
Sarah.
like Sarah, very good. Like Sarah Lavram, over and over again in the history of Klal Yisrael. That's the pshat, because you have Chochmah, Bina, and then Chesed and Rachamim. Now Chesed and Din. Now where does Rachamim fall in here? Rachamim falls on the tzad, and this is what's important for what we're going to learn right now, on the tzad of Din, but it's the Chesed coming in, sheltering the Din from complete Din. That's what Rachamim is. Whereas Rachamim is the Superman, which flies over from the side of Chesed when you don't deserve Chesed, and protects the chesed, protecting the person or the element from the midah of din.
So that's similar to Tiferes. It's not
Tiferes. No, we're not talking Tiferes. Has nothing to do with this.
No harmony.
No harmony here at all. There's an argument here, but there's no harmony at all. But what we're talking about is the din says this. The chesed is wrong, yes, but the chesed can still manifest itself as rachamim to make a shield against giving total midas hadin, and that comes from the side of chesed, not from the side of din. It protects you from din. In other words, it's an admission to din, It's an admission to din, but yet it's on the side of chesed. Is this too esoteric?
So we're still Rachamim.
What? So Rachamim is chesed when it loses the argument. When chesed loses to din, there's still Rachamim to fly in and serve as a tris mipnei haperonios. So Rachamim, part of the energy of the Bria in Chochmah is that Chochmah. The Chochmah is the midah of chesed on the one hand, but it also serves as Rachamim. So hence it says, Marabu Masecha Hashem Kulam B'Chochmah Asisa, right? But it also says Rachamav Al Kol Ma'asav, Rachamav Al Kol Ma'asav. That there's also in order for everything to work, that's Rachamav Al Kol Ma'asav. So I'll explain in a minute. But let me just say this: everybody's familiar with the Gemara. The Gemara says that Breishis bara Elokim, that the first shame in the Chumash is the shame of Midas Hadin. Elokim is Midas Hadin, and the Gemara comments that Ratzah Kodesh Baruch Hu Libreis Ha'olam B'Midas Hadin. Din is emes. Din is the way it's supposed to be. Din is a good thing. It's, the din is that gravity is a din. It should go law of gravity. Things should go from a high place to a low place. If it starts getting all screwed up and things start going up, so we'll go b'shuka. The world can't work. Right? We wouldn't have a roof. Right? The world wouldn't work without the laws of nature. So the laws of nature is HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted people to work also in the law of nature. So either you belong in this world or you don't belong in this world. It's a law of nature. But V'racham Rosh Eino Elam Miskayim, the Gemara says. He saw that the world can't exist only, so then the shame of Yud Kei Vav Kei starts to be used. So Shitef Imoy Midas HaRachmim. So he mixed into this batch of Bria the world of Rachamim. Of course, it doesn't mean that HaKadosh Baruch Hu first thought one way, and then he realized he made a mistake. Okay, that's the philosophical question. It's all babas achas. It's just as taichi gedois for our benefit. That it starts off like there's a lechatchila to b'di'evet. That's why I say you don't daven Rachamim, because Rachamim is a b'di'evet. So the b'di'evet of the world is, but the metzius of the world is otherwise, as the Gemara says, Rosh Eilo Elam Miskayim. So Shitef Imai Midas Harachim. So here's the Chochmah here, or the Chesed below it, creating a world. The world is not going to work because even Adam Arishan did a Chet. So now the Chesed jumps over to the side of Din and stands there and says, no way.
Force field.
Right, exactly. No way that this Ketris Bein Aparonios. If the Din is not protected, if the Din does not have Rachmin, so then you have Yisurim and even destruction.
Where's the chesed in the original state? It sounds like din is there, but no chesed. It's only
the fact that we're given a chance.
But why is that in the form of racham? Why does it just come in as a pure chesed at first?
So it's like the pure chesed is, let's say, I'll give you a job. Let's see how it goes. That's chesed, right? Then you mess up on the job. So Din says, okay, I gave you a job, you messed up, get out. Rachamim comes Mr. Chesed, Mr. Baal Chesed comes running around and says, okay, you messed up, I'll give you another chance. So that's the, not going to fire
we
you.
sin in a state of chesed.
That's, if you sin in a state of what?
Chesed.
We all start in a state of chesed.
Absolutely.
And then once we...
Olam Chesed Yibana.
So, and then we do our...
And we mess up.
Then we need some of that chesed to protect us.
Which is called Rachamim.
Which is called Rachamim.
When Chesed is protecting you from Din, it's called Rachamim. So I'm just saying Taich. When Chesed is protecting you from Din, it's called Rachamim. So Rachamim is not just like a plain good thing. It means that I'm guilty. That's like Chesed did. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't say that he created the world B'Din. This is what Doug was asking. He created the world B'Din. Rosh Eido Elam Eskai B'Eskai Rachamim. Obviously, Olam Chesed Yibani created the world with Chesed to operate in the rules of the laws of Din, but he saw the world's not going to work in a Din way. People are going to mess up. People have the Yetzer Hara. Who messed us up? He gave us the Yetzer Hara anyways. So therefore, Kerachim Aval Bonim Kain Terachim Hashem Oleinu. That we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be a tris mipnei haparanias. If not, there's either destruction or yisurim. This Rachamim is al kol ma'asav. Sometimes, things get completely destroyed because, we'll talk about that in a minute, because the Rachamim doesn't protect it. Avodah Zarah, things that get HaKadosh Baruch Hu really get him upset, like Avodah Zarah.
So we talk about having Rahmanis on someone, like an ani or something. Is that because of din? Like we were saying that.
That's saying that the din in me says, like, why don't you just get a job? You know, which they'll answer, oh, this is my job. this is what I do, you know. But, you know, why don't you get a real job? You do something which is good for the world, something productive. So that's the din. But the Rachamim says the guy's hungry. So and a chanabi, like Alpi did, close the door. But there's an idea of Rachamim. So he gives a beautiful example. But let's just read a little bit, and then I want to explain it more. A person's personal Rachamim has to be spread out. The word is very important. I'll explain to you why in a moment. Has to be spread out. His Rachamim has to be spread out. Al kol hanivraim, on every single creation. Lo yivazem, v'lo ya'abdem. Respect them, and don't cause them to be lost. Shaharei. Because ha-chochmah ha'elyoina, the energy of the bria, he prusa, is spread out like a blanket. Think blanket. Al kol hanivraim, on the entire creation. Doimen, sameach, chai, medaber. Right? A domain is something inanimate, a rock, a piece of metal. So something which is not even vegetation. It'll be the same if you separate it from the ground or you don't separate it from the ground. Even wood is not a domain while it's growing. Trees are not a domain. That's a tzomeach. At least it's alive. We have a concept. Nobody talks about, is this rock still alive? Tree, that can be alive. Is the plant dead? That's what we could talk about. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Rachamim goes even on a domain, Kal v'chomer on a tzomeach, Kal v'chomer on a chai, which is an animal, and Kal v'chomer ben menoshel, Kal v'chomer on a medaber. So Rachamav al kol ma'isa. Umitam zeh, and this is the pshat in the halacha, says the Ramak, who's harnu mibizu e'acholim. That's why you're not allowed to shame food. It says in Shulchan Aruch that besides, you're not allowed to throw a piece of bread. This is not because of baltashkas. Because it could be the piece of bread remains a piece of bread. Like you could still eat it. You're not necessarily being mashchis the oichel, but you're being mavazeh the oichel. So you're not allowed to throw. You're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to throw a piece of bread. In Shulchan Aruch it says, or any food, but certainly bread, which is mechubet shabayich. Val dover zeh, why? Not because you're. This is a chiddush here. Not because you're wasting the bread. It's not about baltashkas. It's that you're not respecting the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Chochmah is here also. Right? Val dover zeh roi shekamosha Chochmah yona ena mavaza shum nimsa. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives his Chochmah on every nimsa, everything that was created. Va'akol nase misham dichsiv kulam b'chochmah sisa. Everything comes from Chochmah, so that means there is nothing in the world. There's an appreciation of the fact that every single thing that's created in the world has some kind of a function, whether we know it or not. Everything has a function. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been created. There's nothing Hashem created just for the heck of it. So every stone has a function, every tree has a function, every blade of grass has a function. It's hard to be so sensitive, but it's true.
We're looking at that in its original state, or once I've crumpled this up, it still has a Metzias.
It still has a Metzias, right?
So what's its function? To stop the door banging? I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know what its function was, but its function. You know, it's only in recent years where they say that look, if you cut down all the trees, then we'll all die of pollution. You know, like one tree takes care of 20 cars. I think they did something like that. Like the filtering of the air, the pollutants. So, like, I don't think anybody realized that. I mean, since the Chachamim Chazal probably understood it. So I'm just saying a bushel. Like everything has its. There's an ecosystem. There's an ecosystem where everything has to be. So like After a couple of centuries now, since the Industrial Revolution of taking away mountains and turning them into, bathroom tiles, and taking away lakes and oceans, and taking away the Dead Sea, and taking away everything, all of a sudden, the planet's getting warm, global warming, and all kind, like the world is the world. There's a pshat in this world, but whether we know it or we not, or we don't know it, the point is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu kulam b'chochmah asisa, everything is made b'chochmah. So it's even like there's a well-worn story of Rav Kook, Olav Shalom, that was walking with the Talmud, and I guess when you walked with somebody like Rav Kook through Eretz Yisrael, your heart became very poetic. And he bent down, he saw a beautiful flower, and he picked the flower like the Tov Lahodos LaHashem. And Rav Kook told him, what are you picking the flower for? Like, why are you stopping a flower in the middle of saying Shira? The flower is in the middle of saying Shira. That's what Rav Kook told him. So, I have a more down-to-earth story that that I remember. Like Rav Hutner, Olav Shalom, used to daven in our yeshiva. He lived in it. He created a tree. He davened in Torah, and he davened there, and a bunch of his talmidim davened there. They had like a lot of kavod, like it was a tremendous amount of kavod, like a melech, So when I remember he came out of davening Shabbos morning, with talmidim around him, and he was walking to his house. He had his talis on, and, he was like a real malchus-stick guy. And in those days, where that whole strip, from Modersdorf until Taz wasn't built at all. So there was wild dogs running around and things. There was no buildings there. Now it's all full of buildings and buildings. Now there was no buildings back in '73. I think it was '74, around the time of the Yom Kippur War, right after the hijacking. Anyway, so this big, gigantic German Shepherd type thing just came over to this Chabur of Rav Hutner and all of these people, and they started barking at the Rosh Yeshiva of Hutner. Barking. It was pretty scary. I was standing right there, but I wasn't part of the entourage, but I was standing there. So one of the talmidim, I still remember this. I remember who and everything. One of the talmidim, like in a moment of zeal, on Shabbos morning, kicked the dog in the whatever that is. And the dog was like, ooh, and walked away. And Rav Hutner looks at him and goes, Meshigan there! What did you kick the dog for? Meshigan? What do you? All right, that's like a modern version of Rav Kook still. What are you plucking the flower? Meshigan, the point is, in other words, kula b'chachma asisa. And therefore, the parallel pasuk is Varacham of Al Kobasa. That there's Rachmanis, So the dog needed to get kicked because it was in the way of the Rosh Yeshiva. What are you being? What are you torturing the thing for? Okay. So domain chai, an animal, medaber, certainly a person, shouldn't kick. Mitam zeh whose harnu mibizu achol and valdover zeh roy shekemosha achach malyena ena mevaza shum nimsa. V'akol nasa misham l'ksiv kulam b'chachma sisa. Everything in the world was created with this chachma, with this energy of chachma. Ken you rachmei ha'adam al kol masav yisparach. Umitam zeh, and it's for this reason. Haya onesh Rabbeinu HaKadosh al yidei shleichas al ben habakar shayi mischabe etzlei. So everybody knows that Rabbeinu Yehuda HaKadosh, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, was walking, and a calf that was going to slaughter saw the great Gadol Hadar and hid. Was afraid of being slaughtered, so it hid under the coat of Rebbe. And Rebbe said to Zil, no. Lakach Natzarti, you were created, which is emes, right? It's emes. Sir of Kook was a vegetarian. Yeah. But Lakach Natzarta is that this is the best thing for you to be shechted. This is the best thing for you to be shechted. That's what you were created for, and you'll become a steak at my table. So instead of being Zil Lakach Natzarta. So the Gemara says that since then he had tremendous yisurim. He had asthma. He had to move out of Beis Sharm Tzipori, and he himself attributed it to the fact that he didn't have Rachamim on the calf. So now what's going on? Is he right or is he wrong? He's right, but that's din. The right part is the din. The Rachamim is yet but. So the calf comes and is crying to him. So where's your Rachamanus? So therefore, he himself had Yisurim. So how does that work? So this is what I wanted to be medayik in the word prusim. The Gemara says, as I said before, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to create the world with Dini, so it can't work, so he added Rachamim. The Zohar, it's in Parshas Vayeshev, not a Bereshis. The Zohar in Parshas Vayeshev says it a little bit differently, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't know if anybody's oimed on this difference, so we'll be oimed on it right now. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. Chesed. Olam Chesed Yiboneh. The world is meant to operate b'midas hadin. Says the Zohar that Hashem saw that the whole world was going to be destroyed, straight from Adam, destroyed the whole world. So what did he do? He was porei simla shel rachamim. That's the lashon of the Zohar. He spread over, think blanket, over the entire bria, and that blanket is called Rachamim. So think of it this way, that you're laying down in bed, you're cold. Why are you cold? Because it's cold. Right? It's a B'tzias cold. You're supposed to be cold. It's cold. But then you have a blanket, and the blanket warms you up, even though it's cold. So, if Hashem wants you to be warm, let him make it warm. So there's a din and there's a rachamim. The din is that it's cold. Muslims cold. Bear the cold. It's cold. I'm cold, so it's cold. It's cold. The rachamim is give you a blanket. That's the rachamim.
But doesn't that mean that Rachamim permeates everything to Tiferes? Everything netzach.
Everything's covered with rachamim.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everything's covered with rachamim. So rachamim, says the Zohar, is a blanket that covers the entire bria, and it's an insulating blanket. It's an insulating blanket which protects, even though there's din, there's a metzias of din, there's a insulation or a protection of rachamim.
Beginning from Adam and Chava.
Begotten. Says the Zohar that we must not ever poke a hole in that blanket. Because if we poke a hole in that blanket, so now not only is the person who poked the hole, are you going to get din, but what's happening is you've ruined the integrity of the insulation, read Rachamim, for the entire world. So now, lo lagamri, but now you don't have a completely insulated blanket, a simla of Rachamim any longer. So when Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said to the calf, Zil lakach matzarta, you're a cow, like, look in the mirror, you're a cow. But so that's lakach matzarta. But the calf was scared. Even a calf was scared. So the calf was scared, so he went for protection to the man who is the Bechir, to the man who was the most choicest creation in the world at that time, which was Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. There was nobody like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. And the calf knew where to run. And what happens is that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi shoos it away. So he made a hole in the blanket.
By not having Rachmanut, then that's how you create a hole in the blanket?
Yes, the ozone layer of Rachamim that's there, you've created a hole by not having Rachamim, and because you say, okay, let's go with din.
How far do we take that, though? I mean, do we not step on a blade of grass? Do we not kill an ant? Or what?
So I don't know. I guess it depends on how much of a tzaddik you are. But Rav Kook was like shaken up that somebody would pull a flower out for no reason. Now, he was a vegetarian. He held that it's a higher madrega, meaning it's hutter basar taiva, it's mutter to eat meat. And once it became mutter, it became a mitzvah. Shabbos covered Shabbos because that's our oleg. But he didn't have oleg in it because it hurt him. Like, why are we killing cows? Why are we killing animals? Why are we cutting grass? I presume. I don't know if he had flowers on his Shabbos table or he didn't. I don't know. But
cutting grass is a problem that you can't have vegetables either. I mean, you can't have any food. I mean,
right. So I think that's the answer to Rabbi Eliezer's question, is that according to the sensitivity of your neshama, it's going to be medaber, chai, tzomeach,
Right.
dome. You can't walk because you're stepping on a rock. But in other words, the holopachus, there's one way that the world works. But at least, like, if the calf, like, I don't know if Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was a vegetarian. That wasn't the tide on him that he ate meat. The tide on is like, if a Rabbis comes to you and says, have rachmanis, how could you not have rachamim? So he was nidar be yisur.
and you should have not shafted it, or you should have just said some nice words to it.
Just, I don't know. but the point is that he was nidar be yisur because he allowed the din. So the mashmai says that he had also done, like a human being, he also did things which did not this. Like there's din, like it's not easy to be the gadol hador. There's din, make a mistake. But he was protected from the din, and he had everything. He had good health, and he had Torah, and he had everything. He was completely enclosed in this blanket called Rachamim, as the Zohar puts it, which, as I say, is different than the Bavli, I believe. But once he poked that hole, this caused him yisur, and immediately he couldn't breathe. Immediately, apparently, he couldn't breathe, and he moved to Tzipori because it's a high place and it was better for air. But when he died, be yisur. But his yisur went away. The Gemara says shortly before he died, he felt no more pain, and the reason is as he says here further. Mi'amar la'zil lakach nitzarta bo la yisurim shehem mitzad adin sharei rachmim beginim al adin v'kasher richem al chulda. So now we have another story about the weasel. Another story we reviewed on Nasi later on, that the cleaning lady was pushing the rodents out of the house, sweeping them out, and they were they didn't want to be swept out. So he said to the cleaning lady, take it easy on them. Like, Rachamav al kol ma'asav. Like, nitzo min adin. And his yisurim went away. So he put a patch on that hole of the blanket. Mipnei sheparas, or the words of the In Tomer Devorah, which are much more eloquent than mine. Mipnei sheparas or ha-chochmah alav. Like he now blanketed himself with Rachamim. And nistalku ha-yisurim. And the Yisurim went away. What an amazing concept. There was a story, I think, where did I hear? There's a famous story of the Chafetz Chaim that there was, he had like a high school, in Radin, there, Yeshiva Tana. I don't know if they did Bagrut or that, but they had some kind of a thing there. And the people that came from places that didn't have, so they would bring their kids there to learn Torah. So there was a father and brought his son. They traveled on a train for a day or two, and he brought his young son, a 13-year-old kid, to the yeshiva in Radin. And the yeshiva was, it came late at night, so they didn't know where to go. It was late at night, the yeshiva was closed, so they went to the house of the Chafetz Chaim, across the street from the yeshiva. Chafetz Chaim was up, and they said, okay, the yeshiva was closed. So the Chafetz Chaim said, okay, leave the child with me. And the kid is like, this is, first of all, he's leaving his home. Second of all, he's in a strange place. They're in the house of the Chafetz Chaim. So the kid was like really nervous and really shivering. And but the Chafetz Chaim, he put the kid to sleep he had like a couch. He put the kid to sleep, and the kid fell asleep. And the Chafetz Chaim was walking back and forth, and he sees that the kid is cold. So he took off his coat, the Chafetz Chaim, It was cold. There was no central heating. It was the middle of the night, so he took off his coat and he put it over the kid, and the kid was like a shtickle awake when this happened. So so the Chavetz Chaim took off his coat and he warmed the community. The Chavetz Chaim made himself cold, and had Rachamim put his blanket on the kid. So I heard it was Rabbi Riskin told this story in this big crowd of 1,000 people, and somebody stood up in the back and said, "I'm that kid. I'm." Only to Rabbi Riskin, such a thing. Florida, he was in Florida. I'm that kid, Miami Beach. Like, I'm that kid. And it wasn't even a from person, but it was I'm that kid. And he stood up and he said, and the Chavetz Chaim's coat is warming me until today. So okay, so that's the shot in the who knows what that did? Who knows what that did? It wasn't enough to get him through the Holocaust, apparently, but there was a certain warmkeit, so that's the warmth. But I think here, I just want to say one more nakuda here. That's really, this is a very important, I'll do a sikum, a very important, I would think, like I grew up with the Bali Musar, so I would think like Moshe Rabbeinu was told to hit the Nile and turn it into blood, and he told Aaron to do it. He says, "I can't do it," Rashi says, "because I was saved by the Nile." So, I always grew up thinking that, okay, so he's the ultimate gentleman. I can't even I can't bring myself to hit the Nile, say like Hakar Satov to an inanimate object. But here, according to this, it could be like a bit deeper. The pshat. It's not just that. So not just like I can't bring myself to hit the water. But the point is different. That I'm margish. In other words, I have a chiyuv to be margish that what this water did for me. Our own, okay, you can't blame him for not being margish, and this is the answer. But I have to be margish because I was in this water. Moshe Rabbeinu was put into the water, like in the coloring books. So he's put into the water, and Miriam is standing there looking through, the palm branches, and Basparo is on the other side of the picture. Think, no, this wasn't what it was. Think Nile. I mean, how big the Nile was. This was waves and fish and sharks and the whole alligators. This was and going back and forth. So Moshe Rabbeinu, even on a subconscious level, this was a trauma. Being in this basket of the Nile, upside down and inside out, and back and forth, and am I going to live? And the Nile somehow saved him. The Nile was good to him. So he had this very very deep regesh to the Nile, and I can't take away. I can't do din. The din is that the Nile has to turn to dam. I can't enact that din. I can't enact it. The din is that a seif behema lishchait. I can't do it. I can't kill my pet. I can't. Like if this is a cow, it saved my life. I can't shecht it. I can't shecht it. That's already human. If you have no relationship with the cow, so there's no rachamim that comes into place. So the rachamim was not only mitzad the gavra, it was mitzad the chefza itself. It's not just that I have to have a hakar satov, even to an inanimate object, kal v'chomer to Midyan, kal v'chomer to people, to his family. But the pshat is that it's not just mitzad the gavra. This is what's right for me. I have to be a gentleman. It's he was able to be margish that the Nile helped him, and therefore he put this blanket, the Chavetz Chaim's blanket, he put onto the Nile, and he didn't let. He couldn't be the one to hit the. So
Hashem gives a different blanket to each person.
That's right. Well, different job of Rachmanis. So for Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, his job was to have Rachamim on this calf. Like that was his job as the Gadol Hador. So that's like something to be sensitive to. Rachamav al kol ma'asav, don't make a hole in the blanket. But I think that maybe even more basic than that, I just leave with this thought that what's the pshat in V'rachamav al kol ma'asav? Why does what the pshat is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, and everything that he created needs to be there. So therefore he coated it, he insulated it with Rachamim. It shouldn't be exposed, right? It shouldn't be exposed to its nerve endings of the world shouldn't be exposed to din. It should have Rachamim, and that's what we need to do also. What's really going on here in the deepest omek is a very, very profound appreciation for everything that's created in the Bria. That's what's really going on over here. And therefore, you see HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Eino olam miskayim. If there's no rachamim, Eino olam miskayim. If I'm going to get rid of the trees because the trees were bad, eitzadas. If I'm going to get rid of snakes because the nachash did a bad thing, the world needs snakes and worms and everything like this. So there's this and chuldas, everything has a purpose. Listen, as a kid, I used to listen to Rabbi Avigdor Miller tapes, but then I started talking like him, so I stopped. but like just amazing, like he was like a scientist and explaining why Hashem created mosquitoes, because if there wouldn't be mosquitoes, we would hang out in damn places and get arthritis and rheumatism. So like to try to appreciate the Shara Bechina of everything is the avoda of Rachmanis and the biggest element. Rachmanis on the Bria, like not stam, and also like to appreciate people. Like sometimes, like you can appreciate cows and calves and stones, but what about people? Like so there's a kal v'chomer here. So the thing is that I once read it wasn't a Torah book, but. Somebody, a philosopher who I respect, but he wrote that walking in the forest, he saw a tree, and he stopped to see the tree, and the tree was like half of it was green and blossoming and full of fruit, and the other half was dead. And he pondered on the tree, and he realized that the way the waters come down from the hills, it's hitting this set of roots and not hitting that set of roots, and hence part of it was alive and part of it was traumatized and didn't grow properly, and he said that he tries to look at people like trees, so somehow we can understand trees better than people, that like everybody has good parts and bad parts, like everybody has parts that are flourishing and really special, and then they have the parts that downright annoy us, like extremely get on our nerves. Yeah, there was I had a guest for Shal Shudas, was Goodwin. So he said before I got married, he went to Rav Scheinberg for a bracha. So he gave a bracha. So he said, "Do you have any advice for Yishalom Bayis?" So he says, "Yeah." He says, "Don't criticize." Simple as that. To me, he told once, "Don't even think it." Your wife will know it's true. Like, don't even think it, But the point is, like to see the tree, that like human beings, like part of us are like, part of every person is like really great, and part of every person, maybe it's a small part, maybe there's almost perfect people, very few perfect people, that there's something like somehow the water from the mountain didn't hit that particular root, and something is wrong over there. But that doesn't mean you knock down the whole tree. Like you got to see the part of it that's beautiful. So this is maybe also like when it comes to people, the Rachamav al kol ma'asav is to be able to appreciate everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu appreciated everything that He created, and He wants us to appreciate everything that He created. So He created people too, annoying people. I've been saying this because like the older I get, the more people get on my nerves. That's the truth. But so this is like a big avoda to be able to find the good, and when you do see it, when you do see the part that flourished, that it's just like unbelievable. It overtakes your mind, and that's all you see. That's all you see. So this is like an avoda you can do with everybody who gets on your nerves. Just find the part of the tree that's flourishing and blossoming, and then when you do that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings the Rachamim on us. That's the Geshmak, the benefit of this. You get the Rachamim on us, because as soon as Rabbi Yehuda on us, he was able to appreciate our rat. So then his Yisurim were over. So if Chas v'Shalom, a person's a Baal Yisurim, so you have to look at who I'm having Rachamim on and what I'm not having Rachamim. That's the derech to look, so says the Torah.
I see.